lies and the Nadco truth. Who is fooling whom? Hello, good evening, and many thanks indeed for joining us here on today's installment of the Daily Report. My name is Debarl. Inea. We shall be having a guest here today to discuss about this particular report that has become a very ticklish issue. And tonight we'll be joined by Honorable Peter Kaluma, who is the Member of Parliament of Homa Bay Town. Also be joined by Richard Onyonka, who is a Senator of Kisii, and also Joe Nyotu, Senator Muranga, and that is promising to be a very interesting discussion this evening. But for now, the highlights. Tonight, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission requests a supplementary budget of over 800 million shillings to cater for several expenses, including an exit package for its former chief executive officer. Also tonight, leaders allied to the Linda Mwananchi movement, including Edwin Sifuna and other allies, have dismissed the 10-point agenda report presented to President William Ruto and Oburu Odinga. Plus, police in Kisumu have launched investigations after a group of suspected goons allegedly attacked and vandalized a hotel belonging to former Principal Secretary Irungu Nyakera last night. Welcome to the program. And of course, flying with me on the sign language desk is Rhoda Nyamai. Now, a dispute has erupted in Kisumu after Democratic Congress Party member Irungu Nyakera claimed his hotel was attacked by a group of more than 100 people in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Nyakera alleges the group destroyed property and injured workers during the raid, forcing him to fire warning shots to disperse them. However, the Lake Basin Development Authority says the incident is linked to an ongoing legal dispute over unpaid rent arrears and a lease agreement involving Fairways Hospitality, Kisumu Faith. Hungary has more.
In this CCTV footage that has since circulated on social media, several individuals are seen entering the hotel premises and destroying property at around 5 a.m. Irungu Nyakera says some employees were injured during the attack, including a female security guard who was allegedly tied up by the intruders. Nyakera says that after hearing commotion at the hotel, he contacted police seeking assistance, but claims he did not receive any immediate response from the security officers. He then fired 2 shots in the air to disperse the attackers that fled the scene. Irungu Nyakera, a member of a DCP, claims that when he attempted to resolve the dispute and settle the outstanding arrears, he was informed that the Lake Basin Development Authority no longer wished to deal with him. He further alleged that he was warned he was on the wrong side of the government and accused of throwing stones while living in a glass house.
2 goons, 2 criminals, had come in through the LBDA side from the mall, which has police guards, but they were able to access the mall. They entered the premises, they jumped the fence from the mall into our premises. They took the keys from the security and opened the gates. And with that, they let in all the other goons, about 100.
However, in its statement, the Lake Basin Development Authority maintains that the dispute is purely contractual. The authority says Fairways Hospital Kisumu entered into a lease agreement with LBDA in 2019 to operate the hotel. The tenant later admitted to accumulating a rent debt of 27 million, which was formalized through a consent agreement signed on 3rd June 2025. The authorities claim the tenant subsequently breached the agreed payment terms. The dispute has therefore evolved into a wider conflict over the control of a hotel building. While LBDA insists the issue revolves around unpaid rent under the lease agreement, Nyakera maintains the conflict is politically motivated and linked to alleged attempts to take over the property. Faith Wangari for TV47.
Now, Kenya Kwanza leaders have criticized the opposition, accusing them of disrespecting women leaders and promoting tribal politics ahead of the next general election. Speaking during an iftar dinner for Muslim women at the Nakuru showground, the leaders also criticized Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, saying he has served in senior government positions for years without delivering tangible development projects. Our political reporter Mike Kagwongo has more.
The early political drumbeats ahead of the 2027 elections echoed in Nakuru as leaders allied to the Kenya Kwanza administration rallied supporters while defending their development record. Addressing Muslim women while distributing iftar food packages as an act of kindness during the Ramadan period at the Nakuru showground, Governor Susan Kihika accused opposition leaders of using divisive tribal rhetoric and disrespecting women leaders in their campaigns.
Lakini nikimwangalia ni mtu hana agenda. Hakuambia watu wa Nakuru kama anataka kiti atatufanyia nini?
Lazima kina mama waheshimiwe. Hasa wale kina mama ambao wako katika uongozi.
Kihika said women in leadership must be accorded dignity and equal respect in Kenya's political space, warning that ethnic-based politics could undermine national unity. Similar calls against tribal politics have also been echoed by leaders urging unity across the country.
Najua Nakuru hatutaki siasa za ukabila. Sisi kama Nakuru tunakaa vizuri kama dada na ndugu.
I want you to list for me what he did kwa jamii ambayo anaisemea kila siku. So let me warn you, be careful so that you do not get isolated from the rest of the Kenyan populations.
Turning her guns on Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, the Nakuru governor questioned his development record. Despite serving in several senior government positions, including that of vice president. But beyond the political attacks, Cabinet Secretary for Mining and the Blue Economy Hassan Joho highlighted development initiatives targeting youth employment and economic empowerment in the country.
Jambo la kwanza, nitakutumia watu wa Maritime Authority and Bandari Maritime Academy. Vijana wetu ambaye wako kwa lake, wanapeleka maboti na kufanya kitu zingine hizi, wapewe training na wapewe certificate at the cost of the government.
According to Joho, the Ministry of Mining and Blue Economy plans to invest in 6 lakes within Nakuru County as part of efforts to expand fishing activities and unlock opportunities for local communities.
Kwa sababu huko na lake sita, kila lake, they must start procuring today rescuing facility na boti ya rescue ya kisasa. Mtu akizama okolewe.
The program will also see fishing licenses issued to young people to enable them to tap into the growing blue economy sector and improve livelihoods in the region. Mike Kagwango, TV47.
Former Chief Justice David Maraga has raised concern over what he describes as rising corruption in the country, warning that the virus continues to undermine national development. Maraga, who is seeking the presidency on the ticket of the United Green Movement Party, spoke in Murang'a during a public engagement tour dubbed the Ukatiba Caravan. The former head of the judiciary criticized increasing corruption cases, saying they are weakening service delivery and misusing public resources meant to benefit citizens. He also urged young people to participate in the democratic process by registering as voters ahead of the 2027 general election.
Vile mambo inaenda nchi yetu, tunataka kujiokoa. Ni lazima tujiokoe. Tukiendelea hivi, Kenya itaangamia. Na kuangamizwa kwa Kenya yetu ni wale ambao tumepatia mamlaka, na badala ya kuchunga mali ya umma, wanaiba kila mara. Hakuna siku hata moja unaweza kwenda bila kuona skandalo ya ofisadi. Kwa hivyo ni muhimu Mkenya wote achukue kura, apige kura mwaka ujao.
We are here to tell these young men and women to make sure that they register as voters, because 2027 their votes their vote count. So we are here to tell these guys and to tell these young men, saying one term won't be enough without their votes.
Now, a faction within the Linda Mwananchi movement has dismissed the 10-point agenda implementation status report released Tuesday by the Agnes Zani-led oversight committee, terming it a fraud and a betrayal of the legacy of the late ODM leader Raila Odinga. The group, led by several opposition figures, unveiled its own version of the Linda Mwananchi report and accused the government of failing to implement the agreed reform agenda while misleading Kenyans of the progress made. Here is Apollo Kamau with more.
The battle for the truth on the implementation status of the 10-point agenda took a new twist after the Linda Mwananchi faction unveiled its version of the report titled The 10-Point Lies, How the Narratives Failed to Conform to the Agenda.
What we witnessed yesterday was a shameful charade meant to hoodwink the public that the MOU had been implemented when it is obvious to all Kenyans that nothing could be further from the truth.
This document that was released yesterday is a fraud. This document is a fraud.
Senator Zani-led committee should be surcharged for spending public money and doing nothing.
Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, who was part of the team that crafted the Memorandum of Understanding between UDA and ODM, arguing that the deadline for the implementation of the report was March 7 and has since lapsed.
There is no longer any document binding us with UDA. It expired on the 7th of March. We have said that that extension is illegal.
The leaders who countered the 10-point agenda line by line took the government head-on the compensation of street protest victims. They questioned how the government arrived at the 2 billion shilling compensation figure and how the victims were identified.
Who knows the number of the victims? Who decided that a broken leg is worth this? Who decided that when you are raped, this is a compensation you should get? Who debated those issues? We don't know. The Victims' Compensation Fund has not been activated, we know that. What about justice? What about accountability?
On the right to peaceful assembly, the leaders protested the continued killing of the youth, vowing to join Gen Z during this year's June 25th anniversary. On wastage of public resources and government efficiency, Linda Mwananchi dismissed the ballooning State House budget and President Ruto's numerous trips, while also dismissing claims in the Zani report that the cost of living has gone down.
Why will you need to take a chopper to go launch 22,000 shillings? How crazy can you get? You know, you can be holding a doctorate degree, you can be a doctor by title. After all, can he have a photo of his classmates?
We borrow money for personal consumption. We borrow money for recurrent expenditure. We borrow money to loot as a nation. And the moment you loot that money, that debt becomes unproductive debt.
On the war on corruption, the leaders decried Parliament's capture by the executive and corruption in the Ministry of Health. They also slammed the national government for stifling devolution by taking over the construction of markets and frustrating the disbursement of devolved funds. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has requested Parliament to approve a supplementary budget of 887.95 million shillings to cater for several operational needs. The funds are expected to facilitate the exit package for the Commission's former Chief Executive Officer, the purchase of furniture for newly appointed commissioners, and the acquisition of official vehicles. The request comes as the electoral body continues efforts to reorganize its operations and strengthen its capacity ahead of the future electoral processes.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has submitted a request for an additional 887.95 million shillings in supplementary funding. Part of the funds, the Commission says, will go towards settling the exit package of the Commission's former Chief Executive Officer, Hussein Marjan, whose tenure ended amid ongoing reforms within the electoral body. The Commission is also seeking funding to purchase furniture for newly appointed commissioners, as well as official vehicles to facilitate their operations. According to the request, the funds are intended to support the Commission's administrative transition and ensure it operates efficiently as it prepares for upcoming electoral activities.
The 50 million, which is meant for media, What is the itemized? What is itemized?
I just want the commissioner to confirm that the situation room is actually not a war station.
It is not anything warlike. If there is anything proximate to war, it is the information which has been turned into misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. This election will be won on the basis of how well IBC communicates.
The commissioner, with all that English and Kiswahili, we haven't understood what the 40 million is actually supposed to be doing. He just confused us with a lot of Kiswahili.
We need laptops. We need a computer to be there. We will need officers. So hiyo kizungu mingi is what it's going to do.
The electoral body too requested for 59.38 million shillings to conduct the by-election in Emurua Dikir, even as the cost of recent midterm elections continue to rise. The budget proposal is now expected to undergo scrutiny by Parliament, which will determine whether the additional funding will be approved. For TV47, I'm Linda Alela.
Many thanks indeed, Linda Alela. Now let's head to the courts where a Nairobi court has granted detectives from the Kenya Wildlife Service 5 days to continue holding a Chinese national arrested for allegedly attempting to smuggle live garden queen ants out of the country. The suspect, Zhang Keqing, was arrested at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and will be detained in custody at Langata Police Station as investigations continue. Samira Mohammed has more.
In yet another surprising turn of events, authorities have uncovered and dismantled a sophisticated operation aimed at smuggling rare queen ants out of the Kenyan soil. The Kenya Wildlife Service, a coordinated intelligence-led effort, arrested Zhang Keqing, a Chinese national at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, attempting to traffic live ants concealed in modified test tubes and syringes.
His luggage, personal luggage, was searched. Within that luggage, there was found 1,948 garden ants. They were packed in specialized test tubes.
Following his arrest on Tuesday, the suspect, Zhang Keqing, was today presented before the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport locals, which granted the investigators 5 more days to hold the suspect pending investigations.
We are seeking to have the respondent here before court held for a further period of 5 days at the Langata Police Station.
Investigators say the suspect is linked to last year's ant smuggling syndicate, where authorities uncovered and dismantled a sophisticated operation aimed at smuggling rare queen ants out of the country. Among them, 2 Belgian, 1 Vietnamese and 1 Kenyan who were arrested at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport attempting to traffic live ants concealed in modified test tubes destined for exotic pet markets in Europe and Asia.
He is in the country on a visitor's pass, and therefore investigators are apprehensive that should he then be released on bond and having no abode, then the only option that his human nature will trigger is to flee from jurisdiction.
KWS intelligence report revealed that the non-Kenyan suspect had entered Kenya on tourist visa, masking his true intent to harvest and smuggle these valuable insects. The operation highlights the growing global demand for exotic species, which has spurred illegal wildlife trade beyond the more commonly targeted animals. Samira Mohammed for TV47, Nairobi.
As Kenyans join the rest of the world in marking World Kidney Week, efforts are underway to promote sustainability in renal care amid the growing impacts of climate change. Our reporter Elizabeth Atieno visited a green dialysis unit that is pioneering environmentally friendly practices in kidney treatment while reducing waste and energy consumption.
At the MP Shah Hospital in Nairobi, we visit the renal or dialysis center. As we approach the unit, we notice that it is quite dark, Medics here inform us that this is intentional to save on energy by at least 10% through the use of solar and LED lights.
So coming up with sensor lights in areas where the patients are not there, so that you don't have lights in the unit the whole time. So that helps us save on electricity.
If you look at the electricity consumption per dialysis session and the carbon emission per dialysis session is equivalent to driving a car for 143 kilometers. That is the amount of carbon emission each session of dialysis releases.
The carbon footprint of healthcare is 4 to 5% globally. If healthcare was a country, we would be the 5th largest emitter of carbon.
Inside the dialysis unit, the gentle hum of machines provide the soundtrack of the arithmetic of survival for kidney patients. We observe how blood flows through these tubes and filters. But this is not just an ordinary dialysis unit. This is a green dialysis unit. Here, resources are reused and recycled to enhance environmental conservation. The use of plastic waste has also been reduced.
About 1.5 to 2.5 kilograms of single-use plastic is used in renal dialysis.
There are over 8,000 patients currently on dialysis. Each session uses approximately 500 liters of water, and a single patient must undergo at least 96 sessions a year. As a result, a significant amount of water is used. In a bid to address this, water from the dialysis plant is now being redirected to flush toilets within the facility, helping to reduce wastage.
So we have a system called the reverse osmosis system. The reverse osmosis system rejects 2/3 of the water, and only 1/3 of that water of the 500 liters is actually used. That 2/3 of the water that is rejected is not impure water. It's just that it doesn't meet the standards for dialysis, but it can be utilized.
This green dialysis unit was launched in line with this year's World Kidney Day theme, which focuses on kidney health for all, caring for people and protecting the planet. The green dialysis unit launched right here at the MP Shah Hospital seeks to align patient care with environmental sustainability while recognizing that the current practices in renal care are not environmentally sustainable. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Still on kidney matters, the Kibera locals have allowed former Central Police Station OCS Samson Talam to seek medical treatment at Kenyatta National Hospital. Through his lawyer Stanley Kangahi, the court was informed that Talam has a kidney condition requiring urgent medical attention. The court directed prison officers to escort him to the hospital, with a medical report expected to be presented after the assessment. Talam is facing murder charges linked to the 2025 death of teacher Albert Ojwang while in police custody. Now, Senate Majority Leader Aaron Cheruiyot has petitioned Chief Justice Martha Koome to fast-track court cases delaying the implementation of Sugar Act 2024. The petition, signed by 16 senators from sugar-growing counties, asks the judiciary to consolidate several high court cases challenging the law. Speaking in the Senate, Cheruiyot said the legislation took nearly 6 years of parliamentary deliberations before it was finally assented to by President William Ruto in November 2024.
This petition is signed by representatives of sugarcane farmers, those of us that are senators from counties that sugarcane is one of the mainstay activities. We passed the sugar bill, Mr. Speaker, in this House in 2024. After almost 6 years of haggling, remember last Parliament, up to as late as June of 2022, we were trying to pass the sugar bill. We didn't make it. And when we came back, it's one of the bills that are prioritized as majority majority leader to ensure that we conclude, because a significant section of the people that are represented in this House, Mr. Speaker, are sugarcane farmers. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, since the passage of that particular law, there have been case after case filed in different high courts across the country by people who are dissatisfied by either one or the other clause, issues of delimitation of boundaries in the catchment areas, issues of elections of directors to the sugar board, establishment and responsibilities of the board, Mr. Speaker, and so many other things.
All right, let's crunch the numbers where adjustments to lending rates following policy changes by the Central Bank of Kenya continue to face delays as banks comply with Section 44 of the Banking Act, which requires due process before interest rates are altered. Lenders say rates should ideally adjust immediately when the Monetary Policy Committee changes the central bank rate. But consumers' protection rules mean the transmission is not always instant. The banking sector now plans to develop a new adjustment framework by June to balance faster rates changes with protection for borrowers.
Banks say the current legal framework requires them to follow regulatory procedures before changing lending rates, even when the central bank rate is adjusted. Under Section 44 of the Banking Act, lenders must ensure changes do not unfairly affect borrowers, meaning rate adjustments may take time before being reflected in loan pricing.
At one time, we spoke about a currency of 156 for the shilling to the $1 to the dollar. Global inflation was much higher. In 2023, it was more than 8.7% at some stage, and private sector credit in our markets had briefly contracted to minus 1.1%.
Industry players say this slows the transmission of monetary policy decisions to the market, even though the intention of the law is to protect consumers from sudden increases in borrowing costs.
That is just that transformation and shift. We get a lot of feedback from clients. NPS measures your net promoter score, what clients feel about the service levels, and I would say especially for consumer and commercial banking.
Banks are now increasingly adopting the Kenya Overnight Interbank Average Rate (KESONIA) as a reference point for pricing loans. The discussion on interest rate transmission comes as Stanbic Holdings reported a 13.7 billion shilling net profit for the year ended December 2025, maintaining profitability despite declining interest rates. Hibak Said for TV47.
KCB Group has recorded a profit after tax of 68.4 billion shillings for the financial year ending December 2025, representing an 11% growth compared to the previous year. The performance reflects strong lending growth and increased non-funded income across the bank's regional markets. The board has recommended a final dividend of 3 shillings per share, bringing the total dividend for the year to 7 shillings per share. This amounts to a total payout of 22 billion shillings to shareholders. Total assets grew by 9.3% to 2.15 trillion shillings, supported by a 15% increase in customer loans to 1.59 trillion shillings. The bank says its regional diversification strategy continues to strengthen resilience and support economic transformation across East Africa.
Sectorial risk appetites on the sectors that coming from. It's a 33% payout, which is almost double what we paid out in 2024. Total dividend paid is 22.5 billion. That signaling the market has had a massive impact on the share. So when you look at the market capitalization, compared to 2024, a 58% growth on market cap. We are at the end of the year, we were at 211. As of today, we are even higher than 211 billion. Total shareholder return for 2025 is 75%. So unless you sell some products that come from Colombia, I don't think you can get that return very easily.
Shofco Sacco has recorded strong financial growth over the past year, reflecting rising demand for affordable credit among small businesses and households in undeserved communities. The cooperative's loan book rose 23% to 633.4 million shillings, supporting a 17% increase in net surplus to 25.88 million shillings. Total revenue grew to 107.69 million shillings, largely driven by higher interest income from member loans.
So our revenue for the year, we have our major revenue, which is interest on loans to members. We had 89 million. I will read in millions. In 2024, we had 47 million. That's almost double.
Kenya manufacturers have raised concerns over the Standards Levy Order 2025, warning that the revised cap could sharply increase compliance costs for businesses across the sector. The new regulations require firms to remit 0.2% of their monthly turnover, with the annual cap rising from 400,000 shillings to 4 million shillings for the first 5 years and 6 million shillings thereafter. Industry players say the levy could push production costs and weaken competitiveness. The matter is now before the High Court, with a hearing scheduled for April 13th, 2026. Absa Bank Kenya has launched a nationwide food donation program to support vulnerable households during the holy month of Ramadan. Speaking during the launch in Kibera, Absa Bank Kenya head of Islamic banking, Tego Wolasa, said the initiative reflects the bank's solidarity with Muslim customers and communities observing the fasting period. He noted that Ramadan is a time of reflection, compassion, and generosity, adding that the bank aims to stand with families in need. This year, the bank will distribute food donations worth 7.2 million shillings to 42 locations across the country under the Absa Kenya Foundation humanitarian program.
Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Tego Olasa, Head of Islamic Banking at Absa Bank Kenya Limited. Being the month of Ramadan, we are here to show solidarity with our customers, with our Muslim brothers who are fasting this month. And this is also in line with the fourth pillar of the Absa Kenya Foundation, where we focus on humanitarian.
All right, it's time to take a short break. But before we do that, we have tomorrow's publication of Star, which is fresh off the press right now. Just to tease out the headline for you, Raila workers fired as Oburu cements place in ODM ranks is what is headlining the front page of the Star. Sackings coincide with his move into operational base. And also looking at the side there, or maybe just to show you the picture of how it went on Tuesday there, you can see that is a story there on Tuesday and today as well. Divided house, it says there. Caption: President William Ruto and ODM leader Oburu Oginga at the UDA-ODM Joint Parliamentary Group meeting at the KICC Nairobi. Linda Mwananchi politicians led by Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, Siaya Governor James Orengo, and Vihiga Senator Godfrey Osotsi, among others, during the 10-point report launch that happened today. Also on the sidebar, Education CS defends having junior high in primary school. You can follow the story where it's fleshed out for you on page 7 of the publication. And 5 million shillings fine, jail for AI abuse, and a new bill. Kenyans who use artificial intelligence to create fake news, deepfakes, or misleading political content could face heavy fines and possible jail terms and a new law proposed ahead of the next year's polls. And you can follow the story on page 2 of the publication. Also, Vasha Alive and told stories of the 2026 KCB Safari Rally team that is happening, of course, from Thursday. You want to pick up also the publication. Right, time for me to select my thirst. Don't go away. Much more coming up on the other side of a break. Welcome back. Now, Tarifa Group founder Rostam Abdul Rasul Aziz has defended his accusation of Nation Media Group shares, saying the move was purely a business decision and not politically motivated, responding to online reactions linking the deal to his relationship with President William Ruto. The Tanzanian businessman said his friendship with political leaders extends across borders.
Tarifa Group founder Rostam Azizi has Wednesday downplayed claims of his perceived closeness with President William Ruto, following his acquisition of majority stake in Nation Media Group after buying out entire 54.08% stake owned by the Aga Khan Fund for Economic Development. Kenyans online have questioned his relationship with the head of state, further claiming that a senior government official was behind the sale. allegations that he has denied.
So just be assured that Ruto is not my first leader in Kenya to be friends with, or I would not even say friends, but somebody who knows me and I know him. Leaders of the past are also friends of mine.
In February 2023, President William Ruto commissioned the Taifa Gas's LPG plant at the Dongo Kundu Special Economic Zone in Mombasa County, which was worth $130 million of investment. At the time, this was the largest private foreign investment in Kenya since the collapse of the East African Community in 1977. The Tanzanian tycoon says his connections with leaders extend across several countries, including Uganda and Zambia.
I was closer to Uhuru Kenyatta than I am to Ruto. I was closer to Mzee Raila, who was a guest of honor at my daughter's wedding in Tanzania. He flew in to Dar es Salaam to attend my daughter's wedding and came back after the wedding the same night. So I have been friends, and I'm friends with a lot of people.
Azizi has further clarified that his decision to acquire shares in Nation Media Group was not sudden, but dates back to conversations he had with Aga Khan IV nearly 2 decades ago.
It goes as far back as 2006, when I was selling the majority of my shares to the Aga Khan and asking him that anytime, any day he wishes to exit the media industry in East Africa, I'll be very keen to invest. And I think this is a result of that discussion in 2006. Thank you very much.
All right, the 2026 WRC Safari Rally is set to roar to life in Naivasha, Nakuru County, with drivers and fans gearing up for one of the most iconic motorsport events on the global calendar. Our sports reporter Nzuki Allen is already on the ground and gives us an in-depth analysis on what to expect.
The world's toughest rally is back on Kenyan soil as the Safari Rally Kenya roars into action tomorrow in Naivasha.
We are calling upon Kenyans and everybody to be here in Naivasha so that we can witness this year's Safari Rally.
Top drivers from around the globe have already arrived in the country ahead of the 4-day World Rally Championship battle that will see machines pushed to the limits across the Great Rift Valley terrain. Defending champion Elfin Evans is among the star attractions expected to light up the gravel stages alongside 7-time world champion Sebastian Ogier and the ever-lethal Calero Vampera. Kenyan drivers will also be out to impress home fans as they take on the grueling safari conditions that have historically tested even the most experienced drivers.
Equally, we have prepared for you adequate entertainment. The sponsors who are here have prepared for that, and therefore, anybody who will be coming here tomorrow, Thursday, we expect them that they shall enjoy up to the last day.
With thousands of motorsport fans and tourists already streaming into Naivasha, the stage is set for another thrilling edition of Africa's most iconic motorsport event.
Police officers and traffic control officers around the area. We've done more than 3 or 4 security recce's with all the teams. So if that can be filtered down to what's expected, I'm hoping we can open the toll station so that clears up smooth flow from moving to...
The ceremonial start is expected to flag off the action tomorrow before drivers head into the first competitive stages across the Naivasha region. The stage is set, with Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki expected to touch down in Naivasha tomorrow to officially flag off the 2026 WRC Safari Rally. And I promise you, it is about to go down. Zuki Alan for TV47 Sports.
Seasoned rally driver Hamza Anwar is getting up for redemption at the upcoming WRC Safari Rally after a challenging outing in last year's edition of the Global Motorsport Showpiece. The three-time Junior Africa Rally champion has been unveiled as the headline driver, backed by the Kenyatta International Convention Center and the government in partnership with Magical Kenya. The sponsorship is expected to help promote tourism during the eagerly anticipated WRC Safari Rally in Naivasha, Nakuru County.
Opportunity, I'm truly humbled to be flying the Kenyan flag and also promoting tourism and, you know, giving our country a boost on the international stage. So really looking forward to it. Now, I'm really happy.
Continue promoting product and brand Kenya. We have to participate in, among other things, sports tourism. So KICC made up a decision this time around to be on track, representing the Magical Kenya, representing KICC itself, and representing the government. So unlike it has been previously, government overseeing the rally, this time the sport is overseeing the rally, tourism is on track, and it is on track through KICC. The intent is to continue driving tourism numbers to achieve the target for the destination.
European football giants headline tonight's UEFA Champions League round of 16 fixtures as Real Madrid welcome Manchester City to the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium. The clash particular play out of the UEFA. But before we take a short break, I just want to tease out and show you who is coming up on the other side of a break. A very interesting discussion we shall be having this evening, and this will be your guest. I shall be joined by Peter Kaluma, who is a member of parliament for Homa Bay Town. Also, we shall be joined here by Joe Nyotu, Senator Muranga, and Richard Onyonka, Senator Kisii. And it's all about the 10-point lies, how the narrative failed to conform to the agenda, and the national, that is the committee to oversee the implementation of the 10-point agenda, and the NADCO report, that is Quarantine 10, the 10-point agenda implementation report that was presented to the president and also Dr. Oburu Oginga. So who is fooling whom, right? Which is the NADCO report that is the true one, and which are lies? We shall be having that discussion, and of course also tackling a host of other issues as far as politics is concerned. Don't go away. See you on the other side of a break.